Hi friends, welcome to another video. If you watched my other video, then you know that I have been reading a lot of fantasy lately and I kept that going, but I also mentioned in the last video that I currently have COVID. So while I'm filming this, I have COVID and I have been reading this book while I've been sick, and it has fully taken me out of my real life. So I forget that I'm sick, I forget that my sinuses hurt, like all these things, completely forget. And I just get so enthralled and fully invested and absorbed in this book. It is my first time reading a book by this author. It is One for My Enemy by Olivie Blake, which I have wanted to read one of her books for a very long time. The Atlas 6 has been on my TBR forever. Haley Pham read this book recently and I was like, ooh, kind of on my radar. I am obsessed with it, like genuinely obsessed. This one I've actually not been devouring because I want to savor it and I don't want to finish it, because I think when I finish it I am gonna be in a major reading slump, because this has just like blown my expectations out of the water. It has been so fantastic. Like I said, when I'm reading it, I am fully invested. Forget about my life. Like, I literally read this before bed and I ended up reading for an hour and I had no idea. Like, the time flew by. I just kept going. I don't even remember turning the pages. Like, I was just in this world, and her writing just like keeps you reading. Like, it's just so beautiful and poetic and lyrical that as you're reading you just like keep going, and it's addicting, and it like all flows so well. Like, the names in this book just flow so well, the dialogue, like it all, you just don't want to stop reading, and it's fantastic. Like, I am absolutely blown away. I haven't even finished this yet. I am so close. I have 70 pages left and I don't want to finish it, first of all, but this one is also already a 5-star and I haven't even finished it. It's probably one of my favorite books of all time, which is crazy, but there is basically, it's like this witch mafia kind of thing going on. So there's these two families that absolutely hate each other. They're sworn enemies. It's very similar to Romeo and Juliet. In fact, like, each part is split up like Romeo and Juliet, and it's written like a play. So at the beginning of each act, it will show like the locations and the characters and all that kind of stuff, which is really fun and unique. It also almost put me off from this book because the first page is like the characters, and I was like, is this one gonna be like requiring more thinking to read? Like, am I just gonna be annoyed? But thankfully I decided to read it, and I'm so happy I did, because that really doesn't play a big part, and like the character guide is nice, but you also figure out who people are as you're reading, and like you get to know the characters really well. My favorite is Maria, who is the eldest sister of the 7 sisters, and basically they run an apothecary, and their mother is also a drug dealer, which is how they make a lot of their money, and she sells these magic drugs. And then the other family is 3 brothers, and their dad is famous for selling like creatures and dangerous artifacts and things that nobody else can get. And the 3 brothers are basically taking over the empire. Maria is taking over the empire for her mother. And it's just so good. But then Maria and the main brother, Dimitri, Dima, they call him. I have no idea if I'm saying these names right. This is how I'm saying them in my head, and they just like flow better in my head, but I don't know if they're flowing that well from my mouth. Anyway, they are in love with each other. So the eldest of both families are in love with each other. And the yearning in this book, like every scene with them is so fantastic, is so good, is some of the best writing I have ever read in my life. Like, I literally tabbed the pages that are just like the scenes of them and their interactions together, and I can't even describe it. It is so good, like so good. You are fully in the scene, you are fully into whatever is happening. Like, it is fantastic. So I'm gonna mourn when I finish this book because it is just so good. And honestly, I don't know if this is popular opinion, but I actually love the eldest siblings more than the younger siblings, and the book is kind of focused more on the youngest couple it's actually kind of like 50-50, I would say. But it seems like the younger couple, Sasha and Lev, are the main focus of this book. Like, they meet each other at the beginning and they, like, it's love at first sight for them, but they don't know who each other is at the beginning of the book until eventually they find out. But I'm not as invested with them. Like, I love their interactions together, and there's a lot of witty banter, and the flirting from Lev is just top tier. But I'm more obsessed with Marya and Dimitri, and I love them. I love them so much. I am a sucker for a ruthless first daughter who will do anything for her siblings, and then come to find out she has a heart, she has a soft side, but she has to keep it secret. And this book is also just so unique. Like, so many of the plot points, the characters, the things that are happening, and the way that the story unrolls, basically, like, you start out with basically nothing and you're like slowly learning what's going on, and then things are happening, and then it's like you go back and you get like the backstory and you get more of the characters' stories, and I just love that. It's honestly reminding me of Frederick Backman like a lot, because that's typically what he does in his books. I love that style. I love when a novel like slowly tells me all the details as I'm like thrown into what's going on. I'm just obsessed. I've rambled, I've ranted on about this book. I need to finish it at some point. I really don't want to, but let's finish reading it. Guys, it is a rainy, cloudy day, but all the snow is melting, so it's actually getting warmer. I think it was like 40 degrees today. It was 50 degrees Wednesday, but I finished One for My Enemy. Chef's kiss. This book is, again, another 5-star. I'm really lucky that I read Bloodguard and then immediately read One for My Enemy by Olivie Blake. I have just been in the mood to read this book, and I've always wanted to know more about it, and I loved this book. Absolutely loved it. It was so good. Like, it was everything that I want in a fantasy romance novel. The writing was fantastic, and then eventually, like, there's just this third character who is kind of just sitting back and observing like all the moving parts of the story, and he's like not really involved but kind of involved, and he's just observing everything that's happening. Like, he knows the ins and outs of every single character, and he doesn't say a word. Like, he does not reveal anything, and at the end you get like more of a glimpse of him and his story, and I just really appreciated that because it kind of felt like a good close for him and what his life looks like, because he just has to deal with the witches. It's like Magnus Bane dealing with shadow hunters. That's the vibe, and it was so good. 5 stars. If you have not read this book, please read it. I was not expecting the ending. Like, everything is set up a certain way and then things just change, and honestly this whole book you have no idea what's gonna happen next, and it's amazing. Olivie Blake might be one of my favorite authors now. I want to read more by her so bad. I don't own any of her other books, so when I finish my TBR bookshelf and I'm moving on to the next, I want to load up on Olivie Blake's books because I want to read every single one of them. This book was incredible, absolutely amazing. I already want to reread it, and I'm kind of in a reading slump right now because nothing can measure up to how good this book was. If you have not read it, please read it. And as always, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!